Hello and welcome to Lexi's Healthy Dynamic Life. I'm your host, Lexi, and on this episode, I have the pleasure of interviewing Ronnie Smith, the founder and runner of the UK Fruit Fest. He's been a raw vegan for 8 years and an overall awesome dude. Thank you, Ronnie, for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Lexi, for asking me to do an interview. I don't do a lot of interviews, so it's a pleasure. And I look forward to, what we're going to speak about today.
Absolutely. And if you're listening on the podcast, I just need to let you know Ronnie is rocking this awesome shirt with all sorts of fruits. I see dragon fruit, banana, papaya, pineapple, and it is making me hungry.
Yeah, well, when you start to eat a lot of fruit, you like to display it on yourself as well sometimes.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about your story. You said you've been raw vegan for 8 years. What led you to eat that way? What were you eating before, and why did you decide to make a change? Give us a little inside scoop on the journey of Ronnie.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll keep it a little bit short. So where I was at just before going raw vegan was I was a vegetarian. So for about a year, I'd given up meat, and that kind of came about as a result of my sort of spiritual interests. So I was going to a class at the time. There was a spiritual development class, and one of the teachers basically said that they found that a lot of people changed their diet when they started to work on spirituality and work with the energy that they worked with. So I didn't know much about that, but I was open to that. I guess I didn't really think of changing at the time, but I did find that one night I went home from the class and I didn't feel like eating meat, and I'd also started to think about it, and I think just by thinking about it and thinking about what happens and all that kind of stuff, that made me kind of naturally give up meat, or at least try. So I gave up meat, and I said to myself, well, I didn't put any pressure on myself. I said, well, if I feel like eating it again, I will, and if I don't, I'll just leave it, and I'm happy either way. And I just never wanted to eat it again. So that was me vegetarian. And prior to that, I'd made other choices. That I never drank alcohol really. I never took any recreational drugs, didn't smoke cigarettes. So I was fairly aware of kind of healthy living. And I actually gave up processed like sugar. So anything with sugar added when I was quite young. So I made that transition, and I also gave up caffeine. So I'd already made some experiments and changes with my diet. So I kind of knew it was important. And then about a year into being a vegetarian, my friend shared with me a vegan video called Earthlings, or a film about veganism called Earthlings. And when I watched that film, it's basically designed to make you go vegan pretty much. So I watched that film, and funnily enough, up to that point, maybe a couple of months before that, I was kind of giving up animal products naturally without thinking about it. I was cutting down on milk. And just because I think I had an awareness that I didn't feel that good eating those things. So it wasn't that big a step at that point, and I just felt ready to go vegan. But I didn't have any knowledge about nutrition or science or biology or whatever else. And I had this idea that maybe you need to get a special combination of certain foods, and the vegans have to eat certain special things and certain beans or whatever. I just didn't know. So I went to research how to be a vegan, or where do vegans get their protein, or whatever I was researching. So I'd already made the decision, not for health reasons, had no awareness of that, actually didn't even know if it was a healthier choice. And almost immediately started to come across videos on YouTube about the raw vegan diet. And the one that really struck me was called The Protein Myth. And when I clicked on this video, The Protein Myth, it was a raw vegan athlete runner called Tim Van Orden. And he did this very short video about people asking him about where he got his protein. And he literally said in the video, I don't eat protein, I just eat fruits and vegetables. And it gives me the amino acids. And he also said something that was compelling to me at the time. He said, if he said something like, I build more muscle, I build muscle without even trying, and yet I eat only fruits and vegetables. So how does that make sense? And that really struck me, because I thought, well, that would be good if you could build muscle without doing anything, you know. So there's a few things that intrigued me about it, but also just when he said that idea of like just eating fruits and vegetables, it just, something about it rang really true for me, because I think I'd been asking myself those kind of questions a lot. Why is it that human beings are so different than other animals? Why is our life so complex and theirs is so simple? How come our diet has so many things in it and theirs is like has a lot less, or whatever? And so I'd already kind of been thinking about that. Like, how would I survive if I got planted on a desert island? What would I eat? I would think about things like that a lot. So this kind of hit me, and I thought, wow, that makes a lot of sense. So I started experimenting with it, got really obsessed with it, started watching more videos, and got really enthusiastic about different people that I was watching and following online, and started to learn more about the 80-10-10 diet, which I started to realize this was the way of doing it, really. And I've loved fruit, and it really made sense to me to eat more fruit, and made a lot of mistakes. And then I would do it for, I got to the point where I could do it for sometimes weeks at a time, but I would still, fall off, go back to eating cooked food and stuff. But was really enjoying the whole experience. And then I came across these videos about this event called the Woodstock Fruit Festival that a lot of the people I was following online were all going to. So it's like, this is the place to go. This is like the mecca for raw vegans around the world. They're all going to this place. And so it took me a long time to make that decision, but I did eventually decide to go. And going there was basically changed my life, and was one of the most important experiences of my life. And that was where I really committed to going 100% raw vegan and continuing, and also going back and trying to help other people at home with it. So that was a really important moment for me. And from then on, I pretty much stayed raw for about 5 or 6 years. I did fall off for a little bit, ate cooked food again for about 6 months, and then got back on again. So I've experimented with what it's like to go back to the cooked food, and I knew it wasn't for me. So and just to confirm, like, what I eat is a mostly fruit-based raw vegan diet, low fat. That's what I do. And right now I just happen to be in Thailand, and I've been doing a mango only diet. I don't necessarily tell people you should do this, but it just so happened that the last 100 days I've just been eating mangoes. So this is day 100. So that's my story in a nutshell. And obviously I put and then at some point I put the UK Fruit Fest on, and that happened as well. So that's my biography, I guess.
Thank you. There's so much juicy goodness in there. I don't even know where to begin. Well, I'm so glad you mentioned the Woodstock Fruit Festival, because that's where I became familiar with you. And it's so funny that you said you just were searching the internet more and more, and it popped up, and you're like, I need to go there. That's pretty much my experience as well. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so amazing. Fruit's the best thing in the world. Like, what else is going on? Who else is doing this? And it's truly an amazing experience. I've never gone to any event like a fruit festival. And so it's super cool that you liked it so much that you started the UK Fruit Festival. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, it was actually mostly through YouTube that I found Woodstock, but it was like the the weird thing was as well that in 2011, so Woodstock, the first time it happened was in 2011, and I think it was around about August 2011, roughly. And what was weird about that is I was in New York in 2011 in August with my then girlfriend at the time, and I was vegetarian. I wasn't a raw vegan, but I think there was something about that even that because I remember leaving New York and I said to her like I don't think I'll ever go back here or something like that. I honestly didn't think I would go back to New York, but I ended up in the next year I went back. And I always think that is a kind of a weird coincidence that I was kind of in the city at the time that was happening. And maybe did I bump into someone? Did I pick up some vibrations from someone? Who knows, right? Who knows? But uh, I was following Durian Rider and he had some videos about training in Central Park. And I remember thinking, oh, I was just in Central Park. So I clicked on the video um, and I think he was in New York because of the Woodstock Fruit Festival. Those videos came up, and then I watched the videos of the actual event, and that spoke to me so powerfully. I don't know if you've ever seen the videos from the first festival, but those videos still give me chills to this day because what I saw was like this was paradise. For me, it was like a really strong calling to this tribe of people that were really healthy, really happy, really loving each other, obviously eating this incredible healthy diet. And I looked up to them because they were eating this amazing diet, and I thought it was amazing they had the ability to like the discipline and everything to do that. And but the vibe of that was so powerful to me. Like there was something magic about it, and I thought that's like paradise on earth, and I felt like I'd never experienced that. So, and the only, but I thought about it, thought about it, and then I had a bit of a weird coincidence when I was thinking about it, and then a van went past and it said Woodstock on it, and that just made me go, okay, I'm going to this thing, and went on and whatever, signed up, paid for the ticket, all that, and it was funny. I think I paid for the ticket, and then I got a message back saying, "Sorry, you were late by 1 day, so it's actually like $100 more or something like that." Because I was like at the end of the month or something. So like it was funny. I was thinking about that I could have got annoyed at that and just cancelled. But anyway, yeah. And I remember at that point there was a forum on the website. So like there wasn't really Facebook forums that much, I think. So I went on that and met some people on that, and then because there was lots of people coming from around the world going to it, and then a bunch of those people were saying to each other like, "Let's meet up beforehand. Let's meet up in Central Park," and we arranged to meet up. And then I ended up I wasn't even able to get to the meetup because I was in like a really long queue in the airport and all that stuff. Um, but just even from that moment, like meeting those, like literally there was two people that went to the festival that I had some problems because my bank card wouldn't work in the airport, so I couldn't get any money out. And randomly, uh, this one of the girls that I've been speaking to online and one of her friends, she phoned me up and she said, "Where are you? Why aren't you at the meetup?" At the and I told her what happened, and she said, "Don't worry, we'll come and pick you up." So her and this two Turkish people, this man and woman, came and picked me up at the airport. Literally, like bought me fruit and paid for my hotel because I couldn't get any money out. So it was crazy, right? Um, and then got on the bus the next day, met all these people, and got to the event. And like in the first night, I met a guy that was one of my best friends for many years as well at the festival. I'd not been in touch with him so much recently, but he was a really great friend. And just that was the whole event for me. It was like meeting all these incredible people, and that's kind of what it was more about. The fruit wasn't that great that year, to be honest. Like, but the education, the people, like that was all amazing. Like I went to so many lectures, I went to so many lectures and classes and tried to be around people, and yeah, left totally inspired. And I just thought, I remember having that thought that like, this is the best thing in my life. But that's literally what I thought. Like this thing, whatever it is, and that event, that's the best. And I thought I should go towards. I'd heard this before, this idea that whatever you're passionate about or whatever excites you, and you should go towards it. And so I just thought I should do this more. So I went back to Woodstock, but I also went to I went to Thailand to meet up with friends from Woodstock and different places. I went to the Denmark Fresh Food Festival. I went to the Spanish, which called the Spanish Pure Raw Festival, the Raw Vegan Festival in Spain. I went to the Slovenian Fruits and Health. I went to all these fruit festivals to be around people, to learn more. And it was just literally that feeling like this is the best thing. And every time I went to one of these events, I absolutely loved it. Like, and from the moment I turned up, there was something special about it. And then at this, I remember at the Slovenian festival, and one of the reasons I went there was to go and listen more to Dr. Douglas Graham and his wife, Professor Rosalind Graham, who've been two big teachers and mentors to me. So, and they were very inspiring, and they were talking, and I remember at the end of it, they were talking about, Rosalind was talking and almost the whole room was crying. She was talking about the world and how we need to change the world and all the problems, and like people were crying and hugging each other. It was really, really incredible experience. And then Doug came up and he was saying like, what are you going to do what are you going to do with your life next year? What are you going to do to make an impact, or what are you going to commit to, And different people were saying things like, I'm going to love people more and I'm going to be more forgiving and all that stuff. But in my mind, I just thought, I'm going to put on the UK Fruit Fest. Like that was the thought in my mind. And I spoke to Doug at the festival, and I said, what do you think about doing something like this in the UK? And he said, if you do that, I'll support you. And I thought, well, if he'll support it, then there's a good chance that this will kind of work. So when I got back, that was in my mind. I went to Woodstock after that, after the Slovenian festival, and Doug was speaking at Woodstock in front of the audience, and he said, we're going to have a UK Fruit Fest next year, UK Fruit Festival next year, and Ronnie's going to run it. Right? So just from that one conversation, he was like, Ronnie's running this fruit festival. So I thought, okay, look, let's try and make this happen. And I also wanted to get closer to him in a way, and I wanted to do something, work with him or do something with him, because he was an important mentor. And so was his wife. So the people that I knew who were like friends from the UK that were into the 80-10-10 thing, there was lots of people in the UK that were into it, but there was, a small group that went to Woodstock and a bunch who went to different things. So we sometimes would meet up, and we met up in London the year before. And that year, the person that usually arranged it, she wasn't around. She was kind of missing or off, like AWOL. She'd gone AWOL. So for some reason, it ended up that I guess I wanted it to happen. So I organized a thing called Fruit Camp, where we rented a little campsite, these little yurts, and invited all our friends to come, and it was like really cheap, and everyone just shared the amount to come. And there wasn't any speakers. We had really simple food, just boxes of fruit and stuff. But we had some people come from other countries, and we had friends visit from around the world. It was really cool. And at that event, I said in front of everyone, there was about 30 people, I said, I want to work on a fruit festival next year. And if you want to be part of that, come and join me in, yurt number 1 or whatever. So we had a little meeting, we all shared ideas, and that was where where it was really born. I didn't even come up with the name UK Fruit Fest. It was someone else, and someone else found the venue, and someone else did the logo and all that stuff. So we kind of worked together at that point. And as with a lot of things, people drop off along the way and things happen. But that was where it was born. And the first year of the festival was really crazy and really difficult and really challenging. And I'd never done anything like that in my life, and I was not prepared for it. And yeah, it was a wild experience, but probably the best thing I ever did. And it was like I really pushed myself way out of my comfort zone. I really wasn't prepared to do it, and it worked out. Like, people loved it. The people that were there. There was only about 60 people there, and for all that drama, and all the struggle and all the stress, and it was, maybe not quite enough people, but it was. It's been the best learning journey of my life, running the UK Fruit Fest and putting that on, for sure. It totally changed my perspective on the world. It allowed me to follow a passion. It allowed me to push myself, and I've met so many people from it and worked with a lot of people, and we've given a lot of people a really great experience. I think we've had over 800 people attend over the last 6 years, and yeah, it's been fun, and it's been that's the biggest thing I've ever done, really.
That's freaking awesome. I love that story, and how it came from a passion, and
Yeah.
you discovered your love of fruit, wanted to bring it to more people and have meaningful purpose related to it. And
Yeah.
it's just such a beautiful story. And do you think you could have put on an event like this before, when you were vegetarian, or even before that? Or do you think the fruit is the secret sauce?
Yeah, honestly, it is. I always had, probably like a lot of people, I'd read books on personal development and whatever positive thinking. I dabbled in a lot of that stuff, and I kind of had this desire to do something bigger, and I never, just maybe through bad luck or whatever, I never quite found a job or a career that like I enjoyed or liked. I always seemed to end up in not really great jobs and stuff, and so I guess it was a combination of all those things, but I'd never really taken that leap to do something for myself in a big way. And really, the fruit diet gave me this confidence that was different, and it made me really believe I could do it, and believe that I could figure it out, and I could work it out. And like I totally understand why people don't do things like this, having tried it now, or I know why most people don't keep going when they start a new idea or a new project like that. And there was a lot of experiences along the way that logically I should have actually, even in the first year, there's many things that happened that I should have like cancelled. But it's like, I think Steve Jobs had this speech where he talked about, if you're going to start something, you should make it something you're passionate about. And there's a big debate about that. Like, should you follow your passion, or should you do something more like kind of rational, or more whatever, like with something with a more likelihood of being successful, whatever. But what he said was, you need that passion because of all the difficult things that come along. That if it's not something you're passionate about, you're just going to drop it, And that was the thing with the festival, really, was this was something I had a real desire, a real passion for, a real excitement about. And I can't even tell, even to this day, like going to Woodstock is like, to me, it's like the best thing on earth, And I just, that maybe that's just for me personally, but that is the energy, the vibe, there's something more than just like people eating fruit at these events. There's something to me so magical about it. So it's like the closest thing to being on heaven on earth or something. Like I know that maybe this sounds to me, people will really think that I'm mad, but I honestly, Lexi, like I think it's mad to me that I know all these raw vegans and fruitarians in the US who have never been, and I'm like, I don't get it. And people from New York and people that live an hour from it, I'm like, what? I really don't understand. Like, not even once. You've not even tried. Like, it's just, it blows my mind. Like, I just do not understand it at all. And it is such a brilliant experience. And I've been back like 8 times. I'm going to try and go back this year. I don't know if I'll be able to get in the country or whatever, but like, it's been such an amazing thing in my life. I'm one of the biggest supporters of the whole thing. But yeah, it's so interesting that you asked that question, because it was a difference factor for me that I went raw vegan and I had this new confidence. In it, and I don't know that it is a life-changing experience going raw. I'm not going to say that everyone's going to feel that, but for me, I was ready for it. I'd been prepared for that. I was learning about following your passion. I wanted to live a bigger, better life. I wanted to do something special, and I wanted to create something magical. I had all these dreams, but I didn't know specifically, what it was going to be. And so when all that came together, that was just the perfect moment for me to take that leap. And as I said, I had no experience in event management and speaking in front of people, and like, never mind like how to put a website together, any of this stuff. Like, I did not really get, like, we just had a name and we put up a Facebook page and all this stuff, and I kind of just thought, well, if you build it, they will come, right? If you create this thing, everyone's just going to rush towards it. And I thought this will be super easy, Well, maybe I didn't think it'd be super easy, but I kind of thought that all the raw vegan people in the UK would like really support it and really help out, but that's not reality. But still, that's the kind of, I think that is the kind of naiveness you need to have as well. So having all that together definitely helped. But yeah, you are right. The raw vegan thing did make that difference for me. And I would say as well, Lexi, I do want to say this. I know so many people that went to Woodstock or one of these events that went on from there and did all sorts of amazing things with their life. But that was the place, that was the moment that things changed for them. And I know people who aren't vegan anymore that they for sure made the first changes in their life towards, creating their own business, making a lifestyle that was, a life of their own, exploring spirituality, all these kind of things, exploring relationships and different ways of relating to yourself or whatever. That started for them there. That started for them in the raw vegan movement and the people they met there. And it's a bit sad to me that I find people that go, oh, I wish I'd never done that raw vegan diet, or like, say stuff like that, or I don't believe in that anymore. And I know for sure, because I was with them, so I know that was the place that their life totally transformed and changed. The raw vegan diet lifestyle, that community had a huge impact on them. And it's sad to me that a lot of people sometimes kind of don't remember that. But because I was there and I saw that happen with people, that's that. What can I say? I know the truth. Yeah, it affects everyone in many different ways.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought up all of those points, because I certainly resonate with everything you've shared. I feel that when I started eating a high fruit, low fat diet myself, actually the first day, this memory is so imprinted in my mind. I felt lighter and I felt happier and I felt more confident in my abilities just to move around because I was really overweight. So I was in pain and heavy and depressed. So like just having that little centimeter of confidence propelled this upward spiral of starting a business and choreographing dances again, and really shifted my life. And I'm so glad to know that it did that for you too. And also, what else I took away from that was the importance of community and having that tribe. Because when I started this, I was a lone wolf in my family, in my town, as far as I knew, in my state. And having connections, even if they're digital, is so valuable. And so I'm really, really glad that you shared that.
Did you find out about it mostly online, and were you already doing it for yourself before you ever met another person?
So yeah, well, we just totally reversed this interview. I love it. I started eating this way in February of 2019 for the purpose of weight loss. I read Fit for Life, tried to do fruit till noon, raw till 4, but went totally raw vegan overnight from being an omnivore because I felt so good and I was seeing such amazing results. And I was so obsessed with it. I'm trying to like spread this message like an evangelist to all my family and friends, and they're just like, what the heck? So I went to the internet and tried to find community in Facebook groups, and mostly Facebook. And somehow, I honestly don't even remember how I stumbled upon the Woodstock Fruit Festival, but it must have been in a Google search or on Facebook. And I saw the website and I'm like, I have to go to this. Like, there's no excuses, no matter what. I'm making time in my schedule for this.
Wow. Wow. Amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's really, really cool. If you're listening today and you're thinking about doing something fun this summer or wanting to change your life, this is both of us highly recommend this festival, the Woodstock Fruit Festival.
I can't find a reason not to go. I can't, like, especially if someone's into this lifestyle and they're going to go on a holiday or something like that anyway. Like, this is going to be better than any other. There's nothing better that a person can do. If they're going to go for a week somewhere anyway, they might as well go to Woodstock. Like this, yeah, that's the way I feel about it.
Absolutely. And even if you aren't on the raw vegan lifestyle yet, it's a perfect place to give it a try. Because like Ronnie said, it's paradise. So thank you for sharing all of that. Such good information. I'm having a blast. And I wanted to circle back to your beautiful biography that you shared. You mentioned sometimes you went on and off a raw and a cooked vegan diet. And I just wanted to hear a little bit more about that experience, what led you in either direction and what you noticed as a result.
Yeah, so when I was starting off going raw, it wasn't something that I did overnight. It was something for me that I experimented with for, tried to do a day at one point. Maybe I eventually did a day and then eventually tried to do a week or tried to do a few days, but I would always go back. Then I started to learn how to actually sustain the diet, which most people actually, especially in the history of the raw food movement, most people have never learned like how to actually sustain a raw food diet in a healthy way long term. But I came across the right people who I believe were the right people, like actually Durian Rider at the time, Douglas Graham, different people from Woodstock as well, Chris Kendall, Freely, Christina, different people. and they all pretty much did it the same. They all ate mostly fruit and salad, and so I just kind of followed what they were doing. Um, but it wasn't really till I went to Woodstock that I kind of committed to it, and I was like, right, I'm going to stay raw from here. And so my whole goal was to stay raw from Woodstock to the next Woodstock. That was the idea. And because I'd like given up different foods in the past, I knew that it takes months to build new habits. In my perspective, when it comes to diet, unlike other things, it can take many, many months to change dietary habits. And if you want to change a habit for life, I think it can take up to a year even, or maybe even 2 years to really completely get rid of, addictions and things to other foods. So I remember that experience of the different detox stuff that happens and the different cravings that come up. And there was moments where I'd be watching TV shows of people eating different foods, and it's weird stuff like that. I've seen people do that when they go raw, but they still watch people eat cooked food for a while or whatever. So there's different weird things that you do, but I pretty much stayed raw from Woodstock for like 4 or 5 years. And the first couple of years, I did pretty much stuck to the low-fat raw diet, mostly fruit, and a lot of the time, sometimes fruitarian, where I didn't have, because I didn't really like eating greens on their own. Eventually, I kind of learned that habit a little bit, but there was a lot of times when I would just eat fruit. But what happened, I remember around about the time of doing the fruit camp, I remember going home from the fruit camp, and because I'd been running this event, I hadn't really been eating much that weekend, so I was probably pretty hungry without realizing it, and was driving home and stopped off at like a motorway service station. I can't remember what the name for that in the US is, but like service station or whatever, like a petrol station by the road. And there was a packet of pistachio nuts, and I just thought, like, I've not eaten nuts in like a long time, so they looked good. They were, calling out my name. So I took these nuts, and like I finished the whole like quite a big bag, and I finished the whole bag on the way home. And I was kind of paranoid about it because I'd been taught the low-fat raw vegan diet, and like, don't eat high fat, don't eat like loads of nuts. So that's how I'd been taught, and I was like, oh, what's going to happen? I'm gonna have a heart attack or something. Like, I was really concerned about having eaten all these nuts. That became a bit of a bad habit. Like, I started to eat a lot, like specifically pistachios, and I'm like quite a compulsive eater, so I get really focused in on one thing. I just get, whether it's pistachios or sometimes it's tomatoes, or at one point it was tahini or whatever it was. Like, I just ended up having that thing all the time. So I was eating a higher fat raw vegan diet, still eating a lot of fruit, probably mostly fruit, but my calories from nuts were like really creeping up in terms of, and I started to gain weight because I had lost a lot of weight in the first few years of raw vegan. That like kind of effortlessly lost a lot of weight. Didn't really track it, wasn't really thinking about it, it wasn't my intention, but I did lose that weight. Started to gain the weight again, with eating nuts. Eventually I was like, this nuts thing is not good. I can't just be eating nuts all the time. So, and I knew I wasn't feeling good. I knew that like my skin wasn't looking so good, all that stuff. And whenever I went back to low fat, it was just immediately better, like immediately better. So eventually but then I had an even worse habit, which is I was having tahini quite a lot, started to have that quite a lot. And that's like, to me, that's like basically oil. Like, that's just such a densely fat. I think you need to be careful with tahini on a raw vegan diet, because I've seen a lot of people end up eating quite a lot of tahini, and it's once again, it's a kind of really highly condensed fatty food. So that became a bit of a habit. I also had a habit for a point where I remember seeing a particular raw food educator, and he was making a recipe in Woodstock, and he said, if you can't find raw garden peas, you can just use the frozen peas, and that's okay. So I didn't really know if I believed that, but I tried it a few times and I made recipes with like frozen peas or whatever. And then I just ended up getting compulsive about that. And I was eating, like I wasn't cooking them, I was just defrosting them and adding tahini to it. And by the way, that is one of the most like decadent things you can eat. Like it sounds weird, but like defrosted peas with tahini and like tomato kind of sauce is amazing. Like it is amazing, but it's a lot of carbohydrates actually, you know. So that I ended up gaining more weight doing that combo or bumble, whatever you want to call it. And eventually I was like, right, I need to stop doing this. This is worse than the nuts. Like this, so this is all things that I was doing alongside like eating a lot of fruit and keeping it raw, apart from the peas weren't really raw. So I was already had some bad habits, right? But I think there was a part of it as well, Lexi, that was like stress, because of the stress of like the festival and things, and I think that's part of where it came from as well. Like it was like a stress, maybe it was connected with that, and I was doing that, but I could really see that I'd gained weight doing that. Um, and then there was a point where I was getting to this thing where I wasn't really. I wasn't as well organized. So, as you know, if you're doing a raw diet and you're not organized, then you have to go out in the world every day and find enough fruit or whatever for you to eat. And that's not always easy. And I was doing this job where I was traveling around a lot and driving for like many, many hours. And it was just, I didn't do the things I should have been doing, which is I should have been preparing the night before, making sure I had enough food and doing all that. But I just couldn't quite make it work, and I was disorganized. And I think all of that led to me going towards bad habits as well. And then I randomly had some kind of mouth infection to do with a tooth or something. I think it might have been from filling coming out or something. And I had an abscess in my mouth, and what that can do is you don't feel like eating. Basically, I didn't want to eat for a couple of days, and like my appetite turned off, but I was still having to work and stuff. And I thought, well, for some reason, the idea came in my mind of like I'll just eat sugar. Like I don't know why this came, but I thought like I'll have something that is just like a sugary drink, or because I didn't feel like eating anything, but I thought maybe I could have like a really simple drink with just water, sugar, or something simple. And I was looking for something like that, and it was just like a random moment in time thing, and then that led to something else, and then eventually I ended up eating like anything vegan for a while, and it was weird because like immediately within the first week I was like, this is not good, but this does not feel good. And it was amazing the difference. Like it was quite a good experience looking back, because it was so stark contrast, the difference. But when you are eating cooked food, it is so difficult to stop eating it. You know, so I was like, I know I need to get back. I need to get off this, but you know, and I really, really clearly saw what was happening to my skin, to my body, to my joints. Different things were just not feeling as good, and that was kind of just another confirmation for me. And I was eating cooked food, but usually what would happen is. And when I would go raw, the first time I went raw as well, I usually did like an elimination process. So there was a point where I was eating kind of vegan junk food, and you kind of you think, okay, I'll try everything else out, and you try it out, and it wasn't as good as you thought, and you know, you kind of go, there's not really any joy in eating this as much as I thought there would be. So another thing I found about cooked food when I went back to it for a while was how dry it was. I couldn't believe how dry it was, like sticking in my mouth, sticking to the side. Like I literally ate, I don't know, it was falafels or something. I was like, how do people eat this stuff? Like it's so dry. it was sticking to my. I was like, why don't I have enough saliva for this? And so it was weird, right? There's so many weird things about that. And but what I would do is I would eliminate, like, I would cut salt out, cut processed food out. I would go back to eating just whole foods and fruit, potatoes. Then I would get down to maybe just potatoes and fruit, and did that for a while. So I got back to a healthier vegan diet pretty quickly, but I still held on to the cooked food for quite a few months. And then I actually moved flat. I moved to a different place. So I think that kind of helped because I wasn't living with people that were eating cooked food. And then I just naturally fell back into eating raw and just stuck to it and stuck to it and stuck to it. And then I realized from my mistake in the past is, like, I need to make sure that I'm doing it right, that I'm organized, that I always have enough food, that I'm fruit-based, low-fat, that I don't let all the high-fat foods creep back in. And so I've been doing it better the last 2.5 years than I've really ever done it. So I'm really happy with the way that I'm doing it now. And I really truly believe I believe in it more now, but I also believe in the low fat very much more now, because I've really experienced the difference with that. And I don't, not that I'm telling people not to eat fat or not to eat nuts or seeds or whatever, but it's certainly not something for me that should be making up a large percentage of the diet.
Totally. And it's a lesson that I had to learn myself as well, the importance of low fat. And really the difference in how I feel was evident as soon as I was eating a cooked meal, or as soon as I was eating a high volume of nuts and seeds. It's really quite amazing once you get a taste of the high fruit, low fat life and how amazing it feels. It's like really, really crazy that eating cooked foods or high fat can make one feel so crummy, and yet those addictive behaviors want to come back and take over. And so it turned into a mental battle for me, going back and forth. Like, I know I need to go back to fruit, and then the little devil on my shoulder is like, but the vegan mac and cheese. And I'm like, no.
And it is really tough, because fruit, I've thought about this a lot, but other foods are like, like you're saying, like the devil on your shoulder or the demon on your shoulder. That's what other foods felt like to me at times. It's like they were there, their presence was there all the time, like you always wanting you to go back and eat them. And fruit never does that. It never is. It's never addictive. It's never compulsive. It's the one food, and probably vegetables as well, but fruit in particular is the one food that, like, doesn't lead to any of those behaviors. And it is impossible to, like, overeat pretty much in fruit. It's impossible to, like, it's kind of impossible to eat it in any kind of unhealthy way, I think. And that's ironically why a lot of people don't go towards it, because almost everything else is more stimulating, and almost everything else is more addicting, more compulsive. And it's not to say that necessarily these foods are incredibly addictive. I think they are, but it's just the fact that fruit isn't addictive, so anything else is more stimulating, more compelling to eat. And people struggle with the raw vegan diet, the fruit-based thing, because they have to change their mindset around eating, because they're so used to being compelled to eat, to being virtually forced to eat by their habits, their addictions. And then there's this fruit that just sits there, and it's like, okay, I think I should eat more fruit today. Like, you have to, like, decide almost to eat it. It's great, but that's the thing that people struggle with, because they end up under eating. You've probably seen that with people that you work with. Like, a lot of people don't eat enough, which can be good for if their goal is weight loss, but long term it's not going to work for them, especially if they really, really undereat, which is what a lot of people do.
Yeah, fruit is so good. And I've honestly never met a person who doesn't like fruit. It just makes so much sense. We're attracted to that sweet, sugary, juiciness of fruit. And the most common thing that people do say to me is like, I like fruit, but fruit doesn't like me. It makes me gassy or bloated. And it's
Sure.
it's not the fruit, it's whatever
Let me
else
ask you about that though.
before. Yeah.
Let me ask you about that. Yes, because we do hear that a lot, which is, I feel bloated. I ate fruit and I did all this, and I'm doing the raw vegan diet, but I'm feeling bloated. And my question is like, are they really bloated? As in, maybe there's been a bad food combination, or is it a little bit of a paranoia around the fact that when you eat fruit, when you eat a lot of fruit, like it does make your belly go out a little bit for a while? And I think maybe people, especially people that have weight loss concerns, might not like that effect. And I'd like to hear what you think about that.
Oh, good question. Yeah, I think it can be a number of things. I think the main culprit is when people are still eating cooked foods or improper food combinations the night before or even during the day, as people have fruit for dessert after they've eaten, who knows what for dinner. And it's like, of course, you're going to feel gassy and bloated. I'm a firm believer in proper food combining and easy digestion. And if the fruit is trying to pass through, but the other meal is still working to break down and digest, it can start to ferment and putrefy and cause gas and bloating and just all sorts of discomfort. So that's why I always talk about fruit first. Eat fruit all day until you're not going to eat fruit anymore, and then have your veggies or whatever if you're still choosing to eat something else. And yeah, I actually remember you put up a post about the temporary bloating after eating a big meal, and that it goes away in like 20-30 minutes because you have to eat more volume to get enough energy when eating a fruit-based diet. So yeah, it's totally possible the belly will expand to get it all in, but it's so quick to come back down.
This is the thing, like when some people say to me like, oh, I'm always bloated when I eat fruit, and I've been around people and I'm like, that's not really bloated. And I'm not convinced they're really bloated, because for me, it's bloating is different, which is like the real expanded, like it is literally like all this gas is being released in within you. And whereas I remember seeing a picture of, I mean, as part of like what Doug Graham talks about in 8 to 10 diet, is we're designed to eat fruit, but we're not used to eating fruit. So our bellies have shrunk a little bit, and really we have to stretch a little bit and learn to eat more. And I think that's true to some degree. And I remember a picture of all these people at his event, all these guys that were doing 8 to 10, and they all showed off like how big their bellies were when they ate lots of fruit. And if, Chris Kendall's the guy that he'll show that off sometimes. He'll take his belly out and he'll show how far he can expand his belly, because he's been on a fruit-based diet for a long time and he eats big meals of fruit. So yeah, it's not, but people do have fears around that part of the body, around their belly, and like a lot of people store kind of fear, and like they hold it in. A lot of people have been trained to hold it in, and so it could be uncomfortable that it's being forced out. So, and I'm wondering if that's what it is as well, because I know people that have actually unconsciously, they're holding in their stomach all the time, and maybe that causes like the tension. But yeah, I think ultimately fruit shouldn't cause any bloating for anyone long term, and is the best, easiest food to digest. But yeah, even for me now, like if I eat a bunch of mangoes, my belly goes out. I've got a big belly. So,
Yeah.
but in the morning it should go away. The phrase that Freely and Dury and I used to say was, go to bed like Buddha, wake up like Gandhi, or something like that. So, yeah, something like that.
I love it. And I appreciate that you brought up the point that as a society, we do hold a lot of fear and stress in the belly area. And looking at, you know, billboards and magazines. Now, actually, it's more the internet. I'm kidding myself. But looking at pictures of people with a six-pack and very small waists definitely has created ideals and beliefs of what to strive for. But, you know, really there's times for both that can benefit the body. There are times to engage the core, to be strong and supported, and there are times to really breathe all the way into the belly to help the lungs expand, which helps get more oxygen to all the cells. So it's really a myth that we're busting about needing to have a tiny belly the whole time. We need to be able to breathe into the belly. And I think that's happening over time, bringing awareness to these things and conversations like this and on the digital platforms. So I appreciate you mentioning that.
Absolutely.
And so you briefly mentioned earlier that you unintentionally released weight in the first few months or so when you switched to raw vegan diet. Was that excess weight that you were willing to lose, or were you trying to hold on to it? What was that like for you in your journey?
Yeah, well, I'd always been quite a slim person from, I think, I remember being a child actually, and I think I looked at myself in the mirror, I thought maybe I was a little bit pudgy, I think, like when I was a teenager maybe. So I remember doing exercising a lot and all that stuff and wanting to look good. So, but from that point, I was always fairly slim, and I never really thought about it. And I also did quite active jobs. So even despite the fact that I was always eating a lot of sugar, you know, that was my kind of addiction back then, was eating loads and loads of sugar. I never really gained much weight and everything. So it wasn't a focal point, but definitely looking back to when I was at Woodstock, I had put on weight, I just hadn't really noticed it. So I was probably, maybe not overweight, but I had like, you know, a stone or maybe 10 or 15 pounds to lose or something. I definitely had extra weight I didn't require. So when I went on the fruit-based diet, I was certainly very disciplined with it. And, you know, I wasn't eating raw snacks, or I basically didn't eat any nuts and seeds and other sources of fat. So I wasn't eating avocados either. So I wasn't even eating like those kind of fats. And yeah, lost a lot of weight to the point that I think people were a little bit concerned around me because I got slimmer than I'd ever been. And I don't precisely know how skinny I got. I remember the lowest weight that I actually measured that I remember seeing was 100 and I think it was 143 pounds, and I'm 5'11", so that's not too crazy low weight. But I did look pretty light, you know, so maybe I got lower than that. I'm not sure, but that's the lowest I remember being at. And then over the years, with what happened with, you know, and once again, I never really tracked my weight, so I'm not sure, but I went back to eating nuts, and just through, you know, I could see that I'd put on weight. And then when I did the tahini thing, put on more weight. When I had cooked food, put on weight. I remember being kind of in denial about it, funnily enough, and my mentality with the raw vegan diet was just like, I never restricted. I always ate basically as much as I wanted, right? So I I was kind of in denial, and then I remember there was a friend of mine, and he was like, he's from Malaysia, and he's got good English, but he's kind of matter of fact with what he says. And he went, and we were in a changing room, and he went, "If you're a vegetarian, how come you're fat?" or something like that. Like, so maybe it wasn't quite like that. I was like, "How come you've got a belly if you're a vegetarian? How come you've got a belly?" And I was like, "I've not got a belly. I just eat so much fruit that I've just have all this fruit in my belly." Like I was totally, I like, because I was experiencing the bloating. I was eating a lot of fruit. I just thought it was that. I didn't think I'd put on weight. But that kind of hit me. And then the worst thing is like when I was one day when I was walking and I realized my thighs were rubbing together. And I was like, this is terrible. Like I've really put on a lot of weight here. So at that point, I really became aware of it, and I wasn't happy with it. You know, I was really thought I'd made made a bit of a bad mistake. But at the same time, I thought this will be fine. I'll just go back to eating raw properly, you know, cut out the high fat stuff, and you know, I'll just go back to that. Don't worry about it, and the weight will just drop off, right? So I literally got to my highest weight, and this was actually after having some cooked food as well, was 14 pounds and 3 stone, which is 199 pounds, or roughly 89 kilograms, which is a BMI of 27, which is overweight, you know, for being basically on a raw food diet. That's overweight. So that was around about January in 2018, and I was like, okay, I need to get back to raw. I need to get back to low fat raw and all that stuff. So that year, I got back to raw, and I just thought, as long as I go back to raw, I'll lose the weight. Don't need to think about it. So once again, I wasn't really restricting, and in that year, I got down to, so I lost 19 pounds, basically 18, 19 pounds in a year, just by going back to a fruit-based raw vegan diet without restricting whatsoever, you know. So that was good. However, the next year, I think I basically stayed the same. So I still had weight to lose, but I didn't lose any more that next year. So this year, as I came into this year, I thought, and it got to about February, and I was kind of losing the weight slowly, but sometimes it would go back up again. And I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on losing the weight now. I'm going to actually like do something and stick to it. So I just looked at the conventional weight loss information, and I think that what's different for me is that I'd really learned how to eat totally abundantly, and I could eat a lot, and I could not overeat on fruit, but I could eat more than I needed, you know. So even if I was overweight on a raw diet, I could eat so much that I didn't just naturally lose weight, even on just fruit, because I even tried just doing fruit, and my weight stayed about the same point. So I looked into what was the convention, and the conventional information is to cut your diet down by about 500 calories a day. So I started doing that, but doing it on a raw food diet, and I adapted to that pretty quickly, and I found it was quite easy to do that. So that was about 18 weeks ago, and I've went from like 181 pounds to 151 pounds. So I dropped 30 pounds in that 18-week period, or that's 13.6 kilograms if anyone's thinking about kilograms. So that's been pretty important to me, because I was holding on to that weight for too long, and I just wasn't doing what I needed to do to make the weight loss work. Now obviously I need to keep it off. I've got a little bit left to lose, I think. But the amazing thing for me, Lexi, is like, thinking that I've lost 30 pounds in the last 18 weeks, if I take 30 pounds of weight. I can't even believe that I used to carry that extra weight around. Never mind basically 50 pounds a couple of years ago, which it blows my mind, right? The amount of extra weight that I had. Um, so, but one of the things I realized is that for many people, weight loss is a really important thing. And people that come to the festival, I can see that it's an important thing for people. And people love to hear about people's weight loss stories. And I realized it was so important that I had to learn more about it. So whatever happened, it gave me a good experience. You know, putting on the weight gave me an experience to lose it and actually empathize with people. I realized how difficult it can be, but definitely there's so many advantages with doing it with raw foods. It's You just don't feel as hungry in a raw food diet. You just don't have those compulsive feelings to eat more. Um, it's much easier to control what you're eating. There's so many things. So I'm really grateful for this experience. I'm really glad that I'm past that point, and I look forward to now staying at a slimmer weight now. But I think it's great what you're doing with helping people lose weight. I think it's such an important thing, and we really need to help more and more people get down to their perfect weight. Because, and I just want to say to people, like, you will not believe how much weight you're carrying, so how much extra weight you're carrying, and how much that is literally weighing you down, holding you back. Like, it is, yeah. So I know the people in your podcast are really are probably interested in that, and I would say, like, just get focused on it. Like, really, really put focus, intensity, and definitely work with someone. If Lexi's the right person for you, do it right now. Like, don't hold back, because the benefit with health is, like, when you get it sorted out, you have the benefit of it for the rest of your life. When you get your weight sorted out, you benefit from that the rest of your life, but you have to get started as soon as possible to get that benefit. So, and most people are not going to be able to do it alone. You know, having someone that's done it, they can help you, is just so powerful. So that's what I would say to people. Like, do not wait around, because, you know, it's time to get going with it.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, totally. The best time to start is now. And long-term health is where it's at. And sometimes it starts with releasing excess weight, getting the healthy habits to maintain this for the long term. And like Ronnie said, like I've said ad nauseum, once you get a taste of how good it feels, like, that's addictive. That's a good addiction to ride out for the long haul. High vibe fruits and energy, good people, love, peace, and all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So that's perfect advice, Ronnie. Thank you. Is there any last words of wisdom you'd like to share before we wrap up today?
Well, I guess, you know, if people want to, I just want to promote the Fruit Fest a little bit. So if people want to hear about that, you can go to fruitfest.co.uk. And we also have a podcast. We're going to be interviewing Lexi soon, called the Love Fruit Podcast. So you can check that out as well. But yeah, my advice to people is basically that your health is by far the most important thing in your entire life. It is the thing that you should focus on before anything else. There is nothing more important, and I get so frustrated because I have so many conversations with people, whether it's about the festival, whether it's about people, you know, looking to get weight loss or whatever, and I'm like, well, you know, it's great that now you're doing that, so I can say to people, well, just go and work with Lexi, like, don't wait, just go and do it, because it is way more important than it. Like, people say this thing, your health is your greatest wealth. It's way more important than any money or anything. Like, I don't even understand why anyone's like, oh yeah, I don't ever got the money for this, to buy this book or something, like, to buy more fruit, or like, what are you talking about? Like, how can you even compare it? Like, and the truth is that people end up wasting that money anyway on a bunch of stuff that's not healthy for them. So it doesn't make any sense. Like, but I think get focused on it, get obsessed with it. Don't be scared about being different to other people. You want to get different results than what everyone else is getting. You need to be absolutely clear as well. I totally have no doubt that the standard diet, all that's the sad American diet, whatever you want to call it, you have to really understand it kills people. It disables people. It leads to people having body parts cut off. Like people literally from diabetes and stuff have amputations. Uh, People losing their eyesight. People like this is such a massive problem. And the funny thing is, the coronavirus comes along, and all of a sudden, everyone cares about their health for a moment, but they don't want to eat fruits and vegetables. Like they want to literally let's close down the entire economy. Everyone stays at home rather than eat fruits and vegetables, which would have been the much more logic. Like let's boost our immune systems and just get back out to work. But no, people would rather literally just collapse their life, stay home, destroy their business or whatever. So I just think that it is. I mean, this situation with the coronavirus, like obviously, health. As soon as there are risk to people's health, everything closes down. That's how important it is. And yet, people are dying, people are sick, people are miserable. You just don't even know the impact that your diet is having on you if you're not eating the best diet. And you don't know who you are yet. You don't know who you could be. Your potential as a person has not even opened up yet completely. And there is just no logical reason that you can give me for why you shouldn't embrace the healthiest version of yourself. And there is no benefit to eating an unhealthy diet. There's just no reason to do it. It is not less expensive in the long run. It is not easier. It is not more enjoyable. It is not giving you a better quality of life. It doesn't give you more energy. It doesn't really help you in your work or whatever. And everyone around you, if you're waiting for them to get healthier, then you need to start first. You need to be the person that gets going. So I just think that what people need to firstly do is elevate health to be in the most important priority list in your life. That's the first thing that you think about, that you make decisions about, that you always have to factor in your health and how that's affected. And when you do that, what that really means is about creating an incredible life for yourself. That's what it actually, and when you make the best diet for yourself, when you actually go to that effort, has an effect on other things. Because then you go, well, if I can do that and make this incredible diet and stick to that, then what if I apply that same thing to my career, my job? What would be the ideal and best thing to really make me flourish and really make me not just flourish in terms of financially, but also in terms of how it fits with me and everything else? And then your relationships, your friendships, the actual environment you live in. Where are you going to live? Like maybe you don't want to live in your hometown, maybe you want to find somewhere else. There is a ripple effect that happens in everything in your life. The second thing is the ripple effect that comes off you to other people. That if you get started with this, you will not believe how you impact people. Then it might not be your close friends and family, but people around you hear about what you're doing and start to make changes themselves. And you might not see that happen straight away, but years down the line, you might have someone that comes to you or says, oh yeah, I heard about you, and maybe they saw something you did or you put out or whatever, and it impacted them. And that's what we need. We need more people. I mean, the world's going this way anyway. You've got to get on the train at some point. So why not be one of the leaders? Come and join the leaders. Be on the bus and let us and bring your example to the world, and let's create a healthier place for everyone.
Woohoo! Yeah. Such good advice, Ronnie. That's so great. So get started now, get on the health train, be a leader in this worldwide movement towards greater health.
Let me say one thing as well, because I know there's probably people listening to this that are like they're on the fence about maybe working with you or whoever it is they want to work with. This is what I did. You got to understand my story. So I went to the Woodstock Fruit Festival multiple times. I went to multiple events. I bought books and did all that stuff. I put on the UK Fruit Fest. I ended up spending tens of thousands of dollars, right, to learn this information, to get near the people that I wanted to learn from, to get their advice, to get their mentorship and stuff like that. And I don't regret any of that, and I was not, I didn't have like some massive income or anything like that. I realized how important it was. I really got that this is something to invest in. This is an investment for life, This will keep on repaying me for life. But the other thing I want to say is like, you can do that way if you want. You can go to a ton of events and meet all these people and talk to them and get to know or whatever. Or you can commit and work with Lexi and just get it over with and not have to take years and years gallivanting all around the world and doing all this stuff that I did, and making all these mistakes and all that. Why not just work with someone that knows what they're doing, follow what they say, get the results that they got? It will take so much time out of the equation. It'll take so much time out of the equation, and your family is going to love it when you change. They're going to love it, when you're healthier and you're at your perfect weight. They're going to make changes. I know that for a lot of people, they're doing it for their children. They're not just doing it for them. And that's a great thing. And we've seen so many people with some incredible changes. Oh, yeah, you require a bit of coaching. You require a bit of education. You definitely do. Don't hold back from that. You definitely need that. As I say, you can spend $25,000 going to events like I did. You can make that investment if you like over years, but you can spend probably, I would imagine, a lot less. Just work with Lexi and get it done. Like, there's no reason not to. Like, you're just going to waste that money anyway on like Starbucks or something if you don't change your diet. So
thank you, Ronnie, for saying that. It's very much appreciated. If you feel called to release excess weight, reach out to me. I'm on Instagram at Healthy Dynamic Life. Or if you really like what Ronnie had to say, reach out to Ronnie. You're on Instagram too.
yeah, I'm on Instagram and YouTube as Fruity Ronster. That's my name. Maybe I'll change that at some point. But that's my old YouTube handle from years back, from coming back from Woodstock. But yeah, I share lots of stuff online. I have like 800 videos or something, random stuff, and got a bunch of free. Like, if people want to reach out, if they want some free stuff, I've got like a few things I can give out for free and everything. If anyone wants that stuff, feel free to get in touch with Lexi or send me something on Instagram. I'll try and send you some like some of my books or whatever, and all that kind of thing. So if anyone needs any of that, then do that. But there's a lot of stuff. You're definitely going to make mistakes doing this. You might as well work with someone. That's the way I feel. And weight loss is so important. I think it has the biggest impact of anything. Like, apart from people that have serious chronic disease that go raw and they get rid of that, after that, it's got to be weight loss, because it totally changes people's life when they're at their healthy weight. I've seen how badly people feel about themselves, about their weight, and how they hide it. And it's so sad, and it's so like desperate. Like, I just really feel for people that are in that situation, and I want them to be successful at, and that's why I'm saying, like, don't hold back, commit to this, make it a focus. It's not going to happen like without you making it the focus. I did it I made it a focus. I weighed myself every week. I wrote it down. every week, like I was watching what I was eating every day, so I made it a real focus. People might say, oh, you're getting obsessed with this, but it's important. Like, you need to elevate health in your mind as being actually important enough to do that. And I really hate it, Lexi, when I see like these memes and stuff that are sort of like, you can weigh all your food, or hey, why not just have a bit of cheesecake or something, like, and people want to hear stuff like that. Like, and it frustrates me because I'm like, that those messages are like, it's not just complacency, it's like that's almost demotivating people back towards, I see it as towards death and disease. Like, I really see this as really serious. Like, I really go like, that can kill people, that stuff. Like, not in one meal, but that is what takes people's energy away, takes their health away, takes their happiness away, makes them feel bad about themselves, makes them gain weight. I'm like, I do not want to be on the page at all of saying, hey, just go and like just chill, just relax about it. Oh, just don't worry, just eat what you like. I hate that message because it's not the message they think. They think it's about being relaxed and all that. It's not. It doesn't lead to that. It doesn't lead to good mental health for people to eat anything they like. You do have to have a bit of discipline to create new habits, and it is serious. I get emotional about it. I really feel it because I see people making these mistakes over and over, and I've seen people come back to the events over and over, and I'm like, they've not quite got it yet, and it's I really just want people to get it, and I'm passionate about it. It is a passion. I'm sure it's a passion for you, and that's, we're trying to like give other people that passion. We're trying to infect you with the fruitary, the whatever, the the raw coronavirus. So we're trying to infect you with it. We're trying to make that spread as quickly as, like, if we could get the message out as much as the message got out about the virus, like, it would be amazing. But very few people were really at risk of coronavirus, but like everyone is getting cancer and heart disease and diabetes, and it's just mind blowing. Like, I don't know.
Well, everything you've been sharing is so valuable, and I really, really appreciate you taking the time today to share your experience and your words of wisdom with me and everyone who's listening out there. I also want to thank everyone who decided to tune in and share their time with Ronnie and me. I hope you extracted some value from this interview. And again, if you're interested, reach out to Ronnie. Go to the UK Fruit Fest website, find them on Facebook and Instagram. If you can get there, do it. If you can get to the Woodstock Fruit Fest, do it. If you want $100 off your ticket, you can use my code Fruitful. If you want help releasing excess weight, you can join my Facebook group called Eat Your Way to Weight Loss. Add us on Instagram. We're here for you. We're here to serve you because we're obsessed with bringing this health and energy and vitality to you if you want it. So again, thank you, Ronnie, so much. And thank you to everyone out there. I am so grateful, and I wish you all a happy, healthy, and dynamic day. Bye.